Actually, I'm sorry. Wait, whoa, whoa, whoa.
I cringe every time these words come out of my mouth.
And he was like, Stan Exitus.
Totally cool story. Make a fucking documentary about it.
Not a good answer for anyone who's not a Gemini, really, but
Dude, it would be perfect for like Love Island, you know?
100. Oh my gosh, this might take a moment for me to just think about this.
I felt like levitating to the song.
There is this fear of being seen thing, I would imagine, for most humans, but getting over it is like a key that unlocks doors.
Welcome to Unshut, a place where if at any point you feel like you need to shut the up, don't. Hey, Nico, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, how are you doing?
Lovely. I'm doing well. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on.
Dude, thank you so much for responding.
Of course. I'm hanging in. I'm in Chicago. It's so hot today, but we're vibing. We're vibing through it.
What's hot for you guys over there? Because I'm in Austin, Texas, so.
Yeah, yeah. I thought you were in Austin. Yeah. We're in the mid 90s today. I want to say it's like 96, 95. It's muggy too. That's the thing.
The humidity, that's the worst part.
No doubt. No doubt. How's it for you?
It's actually not too bad, but I've been recording back to back all day today, so I haven't really been outside. So I'm dodging the heat, you know?
Nice. Cool. You do these from your house?
I do, yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, this
Excellent.
is my little podcast studio at home.
That's awesome. Love it.
Yes. Gotta love technology these days, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. That's like the whole thing now. I'm doing 99.9 from home. It's awesome.
Dude, hell yeah. How long have you been in Chicago?
We've been here, I want to say 4 years now. My wife and I are both from here, originally from the northern suburbs, but we bounced around a lot. We used to live in Nashville, Tennessee for like a decade plus, and then we lived in Los Angeles for a little bit, and now we're here. So we bounced around quite a bit.
Before coming out to Chicago, were you in Nashville or LA?
We were in LA. In 2018, we had lived in Nashville for like 12 years. Then we moved to Los Angeles. Then we lived in Santa Monica. The pandemic happened and we got pregnant with our daughter at the exact same time. We came back to Chicago for a little bit to have the baby because we weren't able to have the baby out there. Well, we could have had the baby, but they weren't allowing fathers in the delivery room. And we were like, well, that's going to be. So we moved to Chicago, had Nora, our daughter, and then we moved back out. So we lived in Chicago for a little bit during that period, and then we moved back out to LA, and then we moved back to Chicago.
So
So
you've gotten to see like all the different music scenes between Nashville, LA, and Chicago. That's crazy.
no doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
That's so amazing that it was your daughter's birth that took you out to Chicago. I feel like sometimes things are just meant to play out, you know, unexpectedly the way they're supposed to for a reason. So who knows? This could have been like the biggest blessing in disguise due to the baby's birth, you know?
Oh, 100%. I feel that way too. Yeah, absolutely. Things definitely happen the way that they're meant to, and it's what you need. And being in Chicago now is exactly what we need. So we're really grateful to be living here. It's awesome.
Dude, I love to hear it. In your opinion, totally random, what are some of the similarities between the music scenes out in LA to Chicago? I was just recording with
Mm.
someone yesterday talking about the Chicago music scene being a little bit underrated. No one really talks about it, but what are your thoughts?
To be honest, I'm the least involved in the Chicago music scene of all the places that I've lived in, even though I'm from here. LA and Nashville are very industry, right? Like the music industry lives there. Chicago, I wouldn't say so much that the industry lives here, though there is plenty of underground going on. And also Chicago's such a hub. Everybody who tours comes to Chicago. It gets a lot of traffic. It gets a lot of bands and artists traffic. So there's this thing a couple blocks away from where we live in North Chicago called Burger Fest every year. And all the burger places come and they set up a tent and there's a stage at one end of the street and there's another stage like, a mile away at the other end of the street. And every year the bands are so good and usually they're local. So I can say that about it. My daughter obsessed with Burger Fest and we go and we enjoy the burgers and the music. Always great.
Dude, I've never heard of that. I always hear of Chicago like the St. Patrick's Green Water. That's what I hear, but I've
Yeah.
never heard of the burger one. That's so sick.
Yeah, there's festivals. There's like Taco Fest, Burger Fest. In North Chicago, there's a festival called Retro on Roscoe, and they bring all these like old cars, like muscle cars and stuff like that. There's all sorts of festivals in the summertime.
Who does your daughter get that from? Being the foodie, loving the music, is that just both mom and dad mixed together?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think it's both of us. Megan and I both love to be like, so we're both relatively extroverted. We like to get out and go to coffees. And fortunately or unfortunately, I can't tell yet, our daughter is growing up in coffee shop culture. We're like, hey, let's go get a coffee today. She's like, yay, coffee. She gets a cake pop, she gets a cake pop and she gets a lemonade.
Dude, I mean, that's definitely me. I always tell everyone, I'm like, I'm such a coffee snob. But by coffee snob, I mean, I know a good latte. I like the sugary shit. So it's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
good, you know?
Austin's got great food. I've been to Austin a few times and it's always, wow.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's one of my favorites for sure. Yes.
What's your favorite coffee place in Austin if we swing by soon? Where should I go?
Okay, so there is one here, and they have multiple spots just outside of Austin, I believe, in Round Rock, Georgetown. They have one, I believe it's a little bit further out in San Marcos, but it is around the Austin area. It's called Lamppost. It
Oh
is
yeah.
the
Okay.
absolute best latte in the world. It's called Lamba Latte. It is a little bit
Mhm.
on the sweeter side, so I always tell everyone if you like sweet, get it normal. If you don't, get it half sweet. But it is
Mhm.
something about their mix, dude. It is like fucking addicting. So
I love that.
that's
And
my
it's called
lamppost plug.
it's called Lamppost. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. I love it. Love it.
So you mentioned the music industry a little bit ago. You've been in it for a hot minute. How many years
Mm.
would you say you've been pursuing music in general, just between producing and everything that you've done up to date? Because I have some things to talk about and break down a little bit later, but let's start
Sure.
there.
These days, I'm not sure what if I'm a part of the music industry. I'm not really trying to be. I don't think it doesn't feel like I'm operating within the industry, but for quite a few years, for like maybe like 15 years or so, I was primarily like touring and performing with other artists. And so in that world, I was, interacting with management teams and sometimes labels and things of that nature. And then when we lived out in Los Angeles, I was doing TV and film music for sync TV and film type stuff. So I guess that's industry too. So maybe like 15 years. Was that the question? How long?
It was. I mean, that's
Yeah,
a really
yeah.
long time for someone to be like, oh, not too long, but 15 years is a long time.
15 years. And then we've been in Chicago for the last four. And I've been still doing the TV sync stuff. But now that when I say not the industry now, I just mean like the reason you contacted me, I think, is because of the new artist stuff that I'm doing. That it feels super, super indie and super, super grassroots. And for now, like I'm loving that about it. So.
Dude, I am stupidly obsessed, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, but I'm totally curious in regards to doing some research on you. I've noticed that you've played the drums, you also play the guitar, you're obviously also singing.
Mhm.
When did that really start for you? Can you take me back to like when's the first time you picked up an instrument?
Well, I grew up in a musical household. My dad was a jingle producer in the city of Chicago in like the 80s, late 80s, 90s kind of vibe. Back when like McDonald's had a custom song for their TV commercials. Disney, McDonald's, like Toyota, all these huge brands were having jingle producers cut custom songs for their commercials. So my dad was deeply involved in that scene. He had a music studio in the city of Chicago. And so I kind of grew up like even before I was playing instruments. I was riding the train into the city with my mom and my brother Stefan, and we would sit in on these sessions and we would watch like just amazing Chicago, session singers and bassists and drummers and saxophonists. And so whatever they needed the vibe of the commercial to feel like, we were just sitting in and listening to these incredible musicians. So I kind of grew up with that background. My dad had a little home studio, and when he was in the city at his recording studio, I would dabble around. Probably shouldn't have been, but I was in there playing the keyboards and just like I was always really fascinated with just sounds. To this day, I really am not the type of musician who like I don't really understand the theory of what I'm doing ever. I don't know what chords I'm playing unless I like really sit down and think about it. So it's always been by ear for me, and that's why I gravitated to the drums. To your point about the drums, that was kind of my main instrument for like a decade plus, and that's the background there.
Dude, that is the coolest thing ever. I did an episode with an Australian musician. His name is Jude York, and he talked about his dad when he was younger. He used to create jingles for commercials when he was younger. And so I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I straight up was like, does that make you a Nepo baby? And he was like, a humble Nepo baby. So it's just so funny, to hear you talk about your dad being in this side of the music industry while you were younger, because those impressions, they really do make a lasting impression into what shapes us creatively. And so that's cool. I've
Totally.
never heard anyone else talk about their parents doing musical jingles, but now I've got two.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's wild that you knew someone from Australia doing that too. And it's really not a thing that exists anymore. Like it was for such a finite period of like 10 or 15 years in there, like 80s to like mid 90s. And now like it's not really a thing anymore. People don't need custom jingles. I don't know. Maybe it'll swing back around like trends do, but
Dude, 100%. Everything always makes its way back around. And so we are
right.
going to talk about something with commercials a little bit later. So I'm excited because I
Okay.
didn't know that about your dad. And so now I'm like, all right, we're about to already have a quick little full circle moment on the episode,
Love it.
unplanned. And I love when that happens. But before we do that, I want to ask you, just because, in my opinion, you've also dabbled in so many different sides of music, right? You've done the instrumental part, you're now doing things as a vocalist,
Mm.
producing, mixing, mastering, things of
Yeah.
that nature. How are you balancing wearing both hats that are so different, if that makes sense?
You know what? I listened to your interview with Coaster. Was that like one of the more recent episodes?
It was, yeah.
Okay, and you mentioned it was a blip in that interview, but you mentioned Gemini. Are you a Gemini?
I am a Gemini.
All right, so I'm a Gemini. I'm a May 28th birthday. I know that you're going to understand this. I've always been able to like straddle lines and wear multiple hats and be analytical over here and then be like creative over here. And so I guess that's how I do it. That's not a good answer for anyone who's not a Gemini, really, but I really identify with that sun sign for better or for worse. It really does describe me. I always feel like just nothing is black or white to me. Everything's always gray. Like in the creativity, there's plenty of analytics for me. And in the analytics, there's plenty of creativity for me. So it all kind of just like it all feels like it's the same thing to me. But you're right. It is different jobs. I like doing lots of different jobs, I guess.
Dude, the answer couldn't have been better because I can so relate to that because I often talk about how one of my greatest skills, in my opinion, is being able to identify when to turn a switch on and off. And so it's fascinating to hear you say that because, just like you in a completely different angle, I often talk about the choreographer part of me, but then now as a podcast host, I mean, I'm fully retired out of choreography, but it's still something that it really did teach me how to think quick on my toes and wear different hats. And so, dude, that's crazy. I'm May 22nd, by the way, so I'm a
Oh,
crazy
nice.
man, you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
Amazing. In regards to fatherhood, you mentioned your baby girl a little bit ago. Did
Yeah.
fatherhood change the way that you saw where you were going with things creatively at all?
I mean, yes. The answer is yes. I don't know if consciously yes. It's kind of been more of like a winding road to get to where I'm at now, which is like pursuing the artistry that I'm pursuing, in addition to continuing to do all that I've been doing, producing for other artists and mixing and mastering for people and sharing informational content on TikTok and things. So I'm still very much happy and involved to do all the things I've been doing. But I don't know if you have children, but they change everything immediately. And so, yeah, she absolutely has had an impact on the path for the better, always for the better.
Do you think that moving forward with your projects, you said it yourself, it really does change all different types of avenues, right? Like your lens almost becomes a little bit different as a father, right? You
Mm,
now see a legacy. You now see how your decisions will impact her, right? When it
yeah.
comes to your music, is that something that you're mindful of whenever you're writing, for example? Is your
Mm.
writing also inspired by this new era of your life that she's going to one day listen to this? So.
Yeah, yeah. She's 4.5 now, for the record, so she's listening now, and she's very much aware now. I asked her the other day because we listen to other artists all day long. My song was on or something, and I said like, "Let's go to a different artist." She said, "I love your music, Dada." So,
Oh,
so she's down with it, which is cool. But to your original question, yes, absolutely, she inspires the music. I don't know if my parents knew what I was listening to when I was growing up, but it never felt like there was any restrictions for me. Like I was listening to Bone Thugs and Harmony, and I was listening to Nelly when Nelly came out, and I was like, and I know they're both hip hop acts, but it never felt like I couldn't be listening to something. And so I know this wasn't a part of your question, but that's an important thing to me, to raise Nora with like kind of just no restrictions. It's like art art is beautiful and art is art, and we can appreciate it in whatever form it happens to be taking. And so I try to produce and create out of that place just for myself in general.
Well, and I think it's so amazing because I mean, even just a little bit ago, you were talking about how she likes Burger Fest and she likes to go for the music and the food. And,
Yeah.
this is going to be on the internet forever. And so one day when she's older, she may go down the rabbit hole of everything that her dad did, her uncle did, her mom did. Again, we talked about those first impressions of us as kids. Obviously, at 4, these impressions really do matter. So she'll
Right.
maybe listen to this and it'll take her back to a place that is not so vivid, but it's a feeling. So it's so sweet. I love
Yeah,
it.
that's so true. And that's so much what our memories are like feelings, really. Yeah, I love that point.
And in regards to collaborations, in the music world, I saw on Instagram that you had been doing some collaborations with your brother. But before I ask you about this, I didn't know how to pronounce your last name when I greeted you. I
Yeah.
know that it's Greek because I did some research just trying to figure out how to pronounce it. How do you
Yeah.
pronounce it?
I pronounce it Exitus.
Excitus.
Traditionally, like if you were to go to Athens, they would say Xidas, I think. But don't ask me. I'm so Americanized. I can't really say.
So are you guys a pretty big Greek family?
My dad's side is Greek. My mom's side is German and Irish. So we're half. I certainly have the appearance of the Greek side. We grew up, in Chicago speaking English. My dad speaks a little bit of Greek, but I feel very pseudo Greek all the time. Like if you were to drop me in the middle of Greece, I'd be on my phone. Let's put it that way.
Very cool. I think it's the coolest thing ever. I'm like, listen, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but I am going to Google it just to see where it's from. Thought it was the coolest thing ever.
What did Google say? Just out of curiosity.
It just said it was from Greek, the origin of that last
Okay.
name, and it was spelt a little bit differently from yours. It was spelled
Mm.
Xydas is what came up, but I thought it was the coolest thing ever, so I had to ask.
Yeah, cheers.
No, for sure. Totally curious. Has the dynamic with your brother evolved now as both of you being adults and pursuing music? I saw some collaborations on Instagram. Has that brought you guys closer together? How do you guys bond with this dynamic? Also, not as siblings, but with now music.
Jordan and I did a big project together in 2018. He was basically a college student, and we were both living in Nashville at the time. I think we did 8 tracks. Niko had zero plans on being an artist at this stage. This was just me funneling energy into Jordan's project with him. And that was such a beautiful project. And still, some of those songs are, especially there's a song called Down Together that is still like one of my favorite textures that I've ever worked on, to be honest. It just like, probably you understand this with choreography. There's some magical moments, pieces where like things just totally come together. And I feel like Down Together was one of those that we created. And I think that's on Spotify still. So it just, yeah, everything just really came together.
If we're going down, can we make it last forever? Last forever. Now, baby. My baby. I know we're going down. I know we're going down. Last forever. Now, baby.
But yeah, these days, Jordan is out in Los Angeles and he's been working with a lot of other producers and pursuing some other things. So, and at the very same time, I've been kind of like winding into my own artistry. So things are not the way they were in 2018, but that was a beautiful project. I love collaborating with my brother.
Well, I gotta tell you, the way that you explained that collaboration and that song you were talking about is exactly how I felt listening to Youniverse, which again we'll touch on a little bit later. So that feeling truly has transcended into this solo project of yours, and can't wait to talk a little bit more about it. But something I wanted to bring up with you in regards to your brother is on an Instagram post, you posted a quote that he used to always tell you, and it said, "Art is never done, it just stops at interesting places." I
Oh, I
thought that
love
this
that
was
quote.
such an amazing quote. And so this
Mm.
prompted me to ask you, what is a reminder you'd like your brother to remember from you?
Mm. Oh my gosh, this might take a moment for me to just think about this. That had to have been an older post, right?
It really was from like that 2016 to 2018 frame, I believe. I didn't screenshot it, but I was going through your pictures and this, I read it. You
Hmm.
talked about how he used to always remind you of this. And I was just like, whoa, that was so powerful. So I had to write it down on my notes.
That is so beautiful. I think for my brother, I just want him to know, like, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I love you and I can feel your love in whatever you're doing. That honestly, I know that's not nearly as eloquent as what he said in that Instagram post, but that is what I would share.
Well, I also find it interesting the gesture you were just making with your hands. I really do believe that the way that we express ourselves creatively is our way to really leave our energy, our internal energy out
Mm.
into the world. And so I think it's so amazing that you two have collaborated creatively because it's a really good reminder for you to go back and look at those projects that you were just talking about and remember him in such a manner. And so I had to bring up that
100%.
quote because I was really touched by it. I'm like, that was the sweetest quote I've seen. So thank you for
That is
sharing
really
that for
beautiful.
sure.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me of that. I had not remembered that quote.
Well, I mean, since we're talking about these reminders and talking about these impressions and collaborations, do you remember the exact moment where you decided it's time for me to pursue this new project?
I got to take you back just a little bit in order to answer that. When I was in high school and pre high school, I was writing the worst songs that you could imagine. And I was, I was at home and had my notepad and I was John Mayer. And this might have even been pre John Mayer, but John Mayer was in there too. Like I was still doing this the moment that like Room for Squares came out and
Dude,
maybe like
yes.
heavier things or whatever those records. Amazing records. I always kind of like envisioned myself doing kind of what I'm pursuing now. But then it took almost a multiple decade hiatus as I moved to Nashville to pursue being a sideman for people and to playing drums for artists. When I was touring, I toured with a guy named Matt Wirtz for a little while as a singer-songwriter. And with him, I played drums and guitar and sang on some stuff. So I got to kind of like be on the mic at the front of the stage with him for a few songs. And so I got a little bit of that artist feeling as a side guy. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's been a seed for, I want to say my whole life, since I was like a child. If you look back at my hard drive, I'm tempted because I'm at my computer now to just pull it up. I won't. But I think I tried to jumpstart like an artist career or an artist project a few times, like over the last 4 or 5 years or so. It just didn't have the legs. But for some reason, actually, not for some reason, I can tell you the exact reason. My brother-in-law passed away last year of stomach cancer, and it was a traumatic experience for the entire family. And right after he passed, I'm giving away some stuff about the music that's going to come out later this year, but right after he passed, I recorded a cover of a Grateful Dead song that he and I used to listen to all the time. And right after that, I finished that cover, and right after it, like, just felt this energetic, I don't know what you want to call it, messaging that was just like, there's 5 more songs. And so pretty much right after that, I just started getting to work, and Youniverse came out and 4 other ones came out, and now more songs are coming out. So
I'm totally like shook right now because I kid you not, okay? This was literally to the moment, and I'll obviously share this
mm,
with my siblings, but my siblings and I were just having this conversation yesterday, literally
mm,
yesterday, about how sometimes we feel these energetic waves when it comes to channeling people that have passed away that almost kind of give us really like the courage to really pursue something the way we always kind of envisioned. And it
mm,
really is a way to kind of channel that creative energy to pursue them. I think it's absolutely insane how you just shared that. And literally, we were talking about that in my sibling chat yesterday. It's absolutely insane, but I do believe there's power in it. I do think that sometimes we channel those energies so that we can have the courage to pursue that little seed you talked about a little bit ago,
mm.
because it's always been there. But sometimes we need just that little push. And I think that this is the perfect example of how sometimes traumatic experiences can turn into beautiful situations. And you're doing that with the music. So crazy. I'm
Mm.
shook by it for
Oh,
sure.
thank you for saying that, Mo. I really appreciate that perspective. And that is so true. I kind of got little chills myself hearing you say that. It just resonates, is what it does.
Well, and I think you're doing it so beautifully. And I think that this wave that you're, talking about is exactly how I felt felt listening to your record. And I'm just like
Mhm.
super excited to continue to see where you take this and what other songs are going to come out into your catalog, because I do think there's something very special there. And I often brag on the show, I do invites only. I don't just take
Mm.
inquiries on the show just for the sake of having episodes. When I hear something, when I'm moved, when I feel something, I have always said it's almost like my intention put out into the universe is to say, okay, please connect me with someone who I was meant to connect with, not just any musician for the sake of a show. And so I really do think that we were meant to connect. And I think that this is just absolutely insane. Very beautiful.
What you just shared is so beautiful. Thank you, Mo, for sharing that. And thank you for the words about the song. And like, I was surprised when you reached out because like when your listeners find me, if they find me soon, I'm small on Spotify. I have like 250 monthly listeners right now, and I'm just getting my legs underneath me. So these are very early days. And to see your email was surprising and awesome. And I've been looking forward to this since. So yeah, thank you.
Dude, same. I mean, I immediately saved your sound bite that I heard on TikTok. And I remember, and like I told you in the email, I was just like, I mean, even my hands right now are so sweaty because I do talk about this all the time. For
Mm,
me, it's never about the monthly listeners. It's not about the
yeah,
social media following. It's truly about, can we invoke certain feelings when we listen to someone's music? And
yeah.
yours did that. And of course, I'm saving
Ah,
it for last because it's my favorite and it's something I've been dying to talk to you about. But something I want to do before we go down that rabbit hole of this song that totally fucked me up is what I like to say.
I love
Music
it.
that fucked me up, okay? I want to talk about a couple of things I saw on Instagram. And before I go into some pictures to do a segment with you, I want to talk about something that you wrote in regards to doing a collaboration with someone. You talked about how you didn't know going into this collaboration that both your dad and her dad had worked together. Can you share about that?
Yes. Okay. So that's Aubrey Swander. She is a bonkers artist, vocalist, multi instrumentalist. She also does graphic design and all kinds of other things too. It's Aubrey Swander, for any listeners out there, she's had a few songs on. I'm blanking, but her music is doing a thing right now. So check her out. Yeah, this is a wild story. So back a few years when we were first getting ready to move to Los Angeles, I had a friend who was already living there. Her name is Jenna, and Jenna was in a band with Aubrey called Moms, MOMS, like we're moms together. They were cutting a song for a movie, like an independent film, and they had me produce it. And I had a coffee with Aubrey. Jenna was still in Los Angeles, but Aubrey was like in Nashville at the time, just for a minute. And so she and I met at this coffee shop in Nashville to just meet each other. And she was going to tell me about the movie, and like she was going to share a demo with me that they created together. And we kind of like stumbled upon together the idea that like, actually, I'm sorry. Wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm getting this wrong. We did a little performance together. So I produced the song for them. After I produced the song for them, we did a little performance together in Los Angeles, me and Aubrey on stage together. And her dad was at the show. And he came up to me like right before we went on stage, and he was like, he grabbed me by the shoulders, and it was just this random man, but Aubrey was standing next to him. So I was like, this is probably okay. He grabbed me by the shoulders and he went, Stan Exitus, which is my dad's name. And I was like, yeah, that's my dad. And he was like, Stan Exitus. He got really excited. And that's when I found out. So right before I went on stage with Aubrey that day, that's when I found out that like, okay, our dads worked together at a barn dinner theater in Nashville, Tennessee, like many, many, many years before Aubrey and I were both born. And now here Aubrey and I are on stage together, producing songs together, collaborating. And to your earlier point about just like the universe bringing people together and things like that, like my connection with Aubrey is absolutely one of those things. Like it's undeniable. We still talk about it to this day, how wild it is.
Like that's some documentary shit right there,
It's
dude.
wild.
Yeah, it really is. Like that is so cool. But I live for moments and stories like that because I have always talked about how I go into these episodes completely intuitive. And I do believe that certain connections aren't coincidences. I think that
Yeah.
they really are a really good reminder from the universe that, hey, it's always been a part of your plan. It's
Yeah.
almost like we designed it before we were even born. It's so crazy.
I love that spiritual bend that you have because I feel just the exact same way. Yeah.
Dude, and I feel like it's something that I wish more people would talk about because it's so easy to just dismiss connections, and I refuse to do that. I think it's so clever that I'm able to make such human connections via Zoom through something so electronic, and I think there's power
Mm.
behind that. So, dude, totally cool story. Make a fucking documentary about it.
Got it sold.
Well, while we're on Instagram posts, something I want to do with you real quick. I've got three pictures that I took from Instagram, and just quickly, I want to flash the photo at you, and I
Okay.
want you to tell me what would this picture inspire a song about. Are you ready?
Mm. Okay, I'm ready.
All right, the first one I have.
Oh, okay, I love that picture. That was okay. What does that inspire a song about? I see the birds immediately, and so I'm thinking "Up and Up" by Coldplay immediately. Do you happen to know that song?
Of
Up and
course.
up. So I'm thinking something in that vein, something floaty, something that takes you into the sky with the birds.
Too easy. You made that sound too easy. The next one I have, this is the only image I had a note for, but I'll let you go first. Mine's completely stupid for the record, but I want to hear what you have to say about this one. Are you ready?
Okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, so these are surfing pictures. Both of these. That one feels very tactile to me, like the foot in the sand. A lot of my songs, I don't even always know what everything is, what I'm meaning, what I'm saying. It feels very channeled. When I see that picture, I would start writing about water, waves, we're crashing. There's a lot of liquid in there. There's a lot of like watery, floaty vibes about that picture.
Perfect. Well, I told you yours was going to be better than mine. The only thing I could come up with for this image, and I cringe every time these words come out of my mouth, I say what I journal about, and these are first impressions. And so I wrote, this picture could inspire a song about teasing because it like has the foot but doesn't have the toes. So for people that have foot fetishes, it's almost like a tease, you know?
Yeah, that's a great one too. Yeah, honestly, if we're writing for sync, if we're writing for TV and film, that's a better topic.
Dude, it would be perfect for like Love Island, you know?
Oh, 100.
Exactly. The last one I have for you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So this is nostalgia. That's a childhood photo of me. I love the colors on that. That's just like a shitty Polaroid, like not working properly. And yeah, so that's nostalgia. That's home. That's memories and nostalgia. Yeah.
Dude, you said it's a perfectly Polaroid. It's like a Polaroid moment, you know?
It's a Polaroid. That's probably the song. Yeah.
Amazing.
100%,
Yeah,
Mo.
totally love it. We couldn't talk about Instagram posts without talking about a video I saw on Instagram about someone in an Eminem costume getting dragged on stage. You know what post I'm talking about?
I do. I
First
do.
of all, for context for the listeners, can you please share about that story?
Yeah, so again, I toured for a bunch of years just as a drummer. So this was a post from those days. I want to say that probably was 2017 or something, 2016, 17. I was on tour with an artist named Steve Mokler. He's a country songwriter. We were on tour with a band called Old Dominion. At the end of the tour, there's always an end of tour prank. Typically, the opening act, which is what we were, performs the prank on the main act. I don't know whose idea it was, but we had this Eminem costume in our trailer and like with all the t-shirts and all the merch and stuff. And our guitar player Joe, I think we were hurting for good prank ideas, but Joe was the most natural with this, so he threw on the Eminem costume, and in the middle of their most like slow dancey, like emotional song, he went out on stage and kind of started grinding up on their guitar player and playing with his pedal board and changing settings during the song. The fans were loving it. We didn't let it go on too long. Steve, the artist, he goes out there and kind of just drags Joe backstage. So that was that video.
Dude, it was so hilarious. And as you know, part of the premise of the show is asking you questions that you haven't been asked about on record. And I do segments inspired by what you post, what you say. And so I thought this was a funny moment. So I had to definitely highlight it in an unshut way on the show. And so my first question in regards to this video is, if an Eminem Niko collab would have come out of all of this, what color or flavor M&Ms would they be?
Oh, love that. First of all, I love M&Ms. They'd be peanut M&Ms because those are the best.
They are the best.
Those are the best. I'm seeing the blue M&M right now. So was he the blue M&M in the video?
It was.
Yellow is also a color that like I think that might be a Gemini thing too. Like I feel like Gemini have like an orange yellow hue about them, like the auric field or whatever. So orange yellow comes to me, but today, right now, with Yumo, Blue M&M.
Amazing, which is funny because I wrote on my notes blue and orange for mine.
Yeah, all right,
And
awesome.
peanut 100%, they're the best for sure.
Yes.
My next question, which is funny because we talked about the discovery of your dad doing jingles and commercials, and I didn't know that going into this interview, but if an Eminem Super Bowl commercial contacted you for music, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I think Eminem, I think colorful. And I think I would actually be awesome at this because I feel that the music that I create tends to be quite colorful. That's what comes to mind. I would be trying to create something that felt like otherworldly, neon, sort of colorful.
If you had to bring your dad on board to help you out with this, do you think magic would be made or would you two bump heads?
We'd bump heads. Yeah, we'd bump heads. We're two cooks in the kitchen.
What's his zodiac sign? Just curious.
He's a Leo.
Oh, Leo. Yep. Headstrong for sure.
Yeah, it can be.
That's amazing. In regards to your music, real quick, because obviously I inquired you off of a snippet that I heard on TikTok, and we obviously couldn't talk music without talking universe. Literally, what I have on my notes: dreamy, stupidly obsessed, and it fucked me
Mm,
up. So
yeah.
we have to talk about this song. First of all, I do have a bone to pick with you because I'm a little bit pissed about this song. It's not long enough, okay?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
there an extended version anywhere out there?
You know what's funny? In the evenings, my wife and I sit out on our back balcony, and she had her voice memos turned on while we were just talking, and I had my guitar, and I actually sang like because she asked me like, "What if you longer version?" And so I sang a longer version. The lyrics were not fully formed. It's a half baked idea, but it just kind of came out like how it would go and what the form would be and how the melody would continue on if it was a longer song. But you're not the first person to ask me that. People have been emailing me about that. People have been, yeah, I have been having to answer for this. Somebody speculated that it's because like TikTok and social media is short form content. So we needed a short form song or something. That's not it for me at all. I will never allow social media trends to dictate like how the art gets made. That song, like, tumbled on out at the production and the melody and the lyrics like all at the same time. It just felt like it asked to be a short song. To me, the song represents a thought that inspires a feeling, basically. The lyrics are kind of like the thought, and then there's like that kind of floaty, nebulous space at the end of the song, and that's sort of like meant to represent the feeling that you're left with after you have a thought, basically. And so since thoughts are so fast, it felt appropriate that that song also be like real short and condensed.
And I don't know what you did, but I see through to the other side, and it feels like something magic or off of ya. It's a bright light at the thought of ya. The whole
And now hearing you say that, I'm also having this epiphany of that's also how dreams are. Dreams,
Mm.
they feel long, but yet it's so short, yet it feels so long. This is exactly how I feel about this song. It's literally the dreamiest song I
Mm.
have heard in a minute. Did
Love
it
that.
start? Yeah, dude, when I tell you I geeked out over this song, it's been so long since I've been like stupidly obsessed over like I've got to track this down and I've got to figure it out. But I was kind of waiting for my, next set of guests to go because I don't like to have pre-recorded episodes to sit for too long.
Right,
But
right.
when I tell you it shook me, it
Mm.
absolutely shook me. Did it start on guitar or how did the instrumental part of this song get structured first?
Yeah, it did start on acoustic guitar, that very first thing that you hear when the song starts. Like, and this is the way that a lot of my songs start. Not all, but quite a few of them. Is that I like to play in alternate tunings a lot. So I think that song's in Dadgad Capo 2. So I'm I'm playing in this alternate tuning, and I'm just trying to find something that feels rhythmic because I'm a drummer and I play drums on every instrument that I play. So it has to feel like it's rhythmic and that it has like a flow about it. When I find like a progression or a way of playing a progression that feels kind of unique to me, then it usually gets thrown onto the canvas of Logic or Ableton, and then I start building the track around the guitar part. And sometimes I have lyric ideas or melodies like when it's just acoustic guitar, but usually lyrics and melodies come like after the production starts to fill out a little bit. So that's how that one came. It was just acoustic guitar first.
How fast after completing this song did the word dreamy come into mind?
When I started posting about it, I finished this song and then I did several others after it. The whole process of making the music that I'm now releasing was like a 6-month plus process. So I finished that one. I scooted it over and I started working on the others. And then 5 or 6 months later, now I'm posting about Youniverse. You know, sometimes as the artist, you're not the best person to define it or to like, you know what I mean? I'm so damn close to it that I kind of need other people to tell me what it is sometimes. So I did a few posts like very early on with that song where I was like, what genre is this? Can someone help me out? Like, what is this? And someone said dreamy indie pop. And I liked that. I felt like it was true. And now that I think about it, like the other songs that I have coming out, like that it is my style. It is kind of dreamy indie pop. So yeah, I think someone gave me that to be, I can't remember who, but just a TikToker was like, it's dreamy.
Which I feel like that says a lot about how this didn't come from an egotistic, like, this is what I am claiming it to be. And I think that that's the beauty of art, is that you allow for the interpretation to be open to the listener. And so I really resonated with that because I felt like levitating to the song. It was just very dreamy. And so when I saw that after the fact, I was like, man, dreamy pop is so spot on.
I'm sticking with it because it's funny that you bring this up because I've been grateful that someone, you know, planted that in my mind because now I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that is kind of my genre.
And now you're like honing in on it. That's genius.
Right.
In regards to a couple other songs on Spotify, Bay Street and Fresh and New, this is something I wrote on my notes, and I just kind of want to see what your response is to it. I never like to compare artists to one another, but this is just the first thing that came to mind, and I'm curious to share it with you. But on my notes, after listening to those two tracks, I wrote, it's giving a better version of Owl City, modern day Owl City. Thoughts on that?
I love that. I love Owl City. And so the idea that I'm a better version of that to someone is just like mind blowing.
Because in my opinion, they also have like a dreamy pop to them, but they're very dreamy synth. They're a little bit more like electric dreams. So it wasn't quite Owl City, but it was what I would have wanted Owl City to be if they could just, you know, tone it down with the electric stuff. So I was like, man, Owl City comes to mind, but I don't want to be insulting in any way.
No, not at all. I'm flattered by that comparison. And my wife teaches yoga and she has Bay Street on her yoga playlist. And that's when I put that out, I was kind of thinking like this could be kind of a good like yoga playlist song.
Dude.
But those are songs that like I was really playing with at the time. Those are a few years old, but I was playing with like texture more than anything. Like both of those songs feel like they have like ASMR like texture quality to them. And so that was kind of my like producer focus in that moment of time. And I'm glad those are out, even though they're a few years old and my music doesn't really feel quite like that anymore. I'm glad that those still exist.
Well, and I thought they showcased how you really are a multi-instrumentalist. I feel like it really did capture those in those two songs because if you listen to it a second time, you catch a different beat. If you listen to it a third time, you almost start to pick and choose what you want to dissect from it. So I am like stupidly obsessed, dude. When I tell you I'm a big fan, I'm a big fan.
I love it. You know what's funny? I'm saying this because you're a choreographer. People reach out to me almost daily on TikTok saying, hey, I want to choreograph a dance to Youniverse, obviously. obviously, because that's the one that I'm posting about now. But and people always want to be paid for this, right? Like this is their business. They're going to reach out. Can you pay me to produce a dance to your song or whatever? What do you think about people doing that? And what do you think about like, have you ever done that with an artist? Have you ever choreographed an artist from the show or an artist that you love?
I will tell you this. I was just new to this literally on Monday, so early on this week. This is definitely not where your question was going, but I'm just going to rant about it real quick. But
Go.
someone posted about how they reached out to this influencer, sent them $100 to promote their song, do a little snippet of it, right? And then they never did it. And so
Ah,
I didn't even know that that was a thing. But I think if they're going to stay true to using the snippet to what they're asking to use it for, fuck yeah, dude. I am all for it. I think it's like super smart because then it's also them showcasing their interpretation in a
totally.
creative manner to it. So I'm all for it for sure. So I would say do it for sure.
Okay, sick. I love to hear that. Yeah. I think it's a super cool idea.
Which is funny because my next question was going to follow up with visualizers. Have you thought about what it's going to look like in the future when it comes to creating visualizers for your music? I noticed that on Instagram you posted a picture that was like, don't really like taking selfies, but you posted a selfie. So it gave me camera shy. So now I'm
Ah,
curious, music videos in the future, thoughts on that?
yeah. So, okay. Instagram, first of all, not hating on any social platform. Instagram's cool, but most of my content these days is TikTok and YouTube. So maybe this is a personal block I have on Instagram, but also maybe some of your viewers will relate to this. I feel like I shouldn't be posting on Instagram unless I'm like getting married or, you know what I mean? Like it's like a big life moment platform. All of that is to say, I haven't posted on Instagram very much. It's like a couple posts a year. So the camera shy pros, I certainly have had that. There's been a lot of growth in the last like year and a half maybe since I've started posting on TikTok of just like getting over the fear of being seen, I guess. And for these songs that are coming out now, I worked with a photographer in Chicago and she did take a bunch of video footage that I don't think we're going to use because after reviewing the video footage, I was like, okay, you know what needs to happen is I just need to get like real comfortable for a little while. And then we should do some video footage after I get real comfortable for a while. So it's a journey. I'm sure you know, if you're public on the internet, like there is this fear of being seen thing, I would imagine for most humans, but getting over it is like a key that unlocks doors. So I've had to go through this journey, so and still am. So I'm glad to be not as camera shy as I used to be. And there will be visualizers in the future, but for the songs that are coming out immediately, it's just going to be photos.
Dude, I cannot wait to see you step out of that comfort zone and start doing those visualizers. And if this is just in my opinion, I think that it's a really good way to also showcase the evolution of this project of yours. If you're going to show authenticity, you can't hit everything balls to the wall immediately. You have to show how, like, listen, these didn't have visualizers, but I'm slowly getting there. And people love that shit. People love to see a journey that started off with a
Yeah.
little bit of insecurity, a little bit of reservedness, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you start to blossom into this confident artist that you are, and people can relate to that. I love it. So
Cheers. Yeah, yeah. I appreciate that sentiment. It is a journey. It is a moving forward. I'll reveal this. I'm like, I have 2.5 years from this point moving forward of like, not everything is written. Of course, it's all in process, but the plan is to be releasing music and singles for the next 2.5 years. And at that point, there's a reevaluation. So as we finish chunks of songs and film content for them and stuff like that, I'll be getting better at this. And I actually said that on my TikTok, like when I first started posting about Youniverse, I was like, thank y'all for hanging in there with me. We're going to get better at this. For now, this is what you get from me.
dude, and that's so relatable because I feel the same way. I'm like, listen, I'm not a content creator. I am not a TikToker or influencer. And so having that shift of mindset to be that, because that's what it takes to promote what it is you're trying to promote, is
Yeah.
a challenge. But I do think that people can appreciate seeing the progress and the journey. So I'm rooting for you, dude. And if once you start getting into those music videos and you need some movement coaching, some stage movement, and you want to hit me up, I'll definitely be a part of it. I would love
You're
to
my
because I
first call,
believe your
Mo.
music. Dude,
Cheers, man. You are my first call.
I believe in what you're doing. I love what you're doing with the music. I love the sound, love the feeling that it made me feel. Thank you so much for giving me the time today and sitting with me. My platform is slowly growing. It's not the biggest, but it's going somewhere. And I'm very honored to be able to share with you for sure.
Mo, thank you so much for having me. It's been a joy. I was excited excited about this, and I still am. So I just appreciate you having me on so much.
I appreciate it so much too, dude. So lastly, please tell everyone where they can find you, where they can find your TikTok, and where to stream your music.
Yeah, I'm streaming on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, everything. Niko Xidas, Niko space Xidas. And I'm at Niko Xidas on all my platforms. I'm posting daily on TikTok and YouTube, and I'm on Instagram too. So I will post about every release on Instagram, and occasionally I post some stories to Instagram and things like that. So hit me up.
Dude, absolutely. Thank you so much. And we'll definitely be in touch on when this will air and all those good details, but I'll be in touch for sure.
Sounds great, Mo. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Of course. Take care of yourself. And like I said, we'll be in touch.
Sounds good. Talk soon, Mo.
All right. Bye. Hey, if you've made it this far, don't forget to follow the socials on the screen or in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. See you next week.